Today we're going to take a look at Powershell's Foreach loop. Extremely useful. You can look at each record in an array, or in our case we're going to use a query from the database, and pulling the stock information from the Wide World Importers database. Nothing super fancy, but it's enough to where we can go through each record and see the results. And create a query parameter. I'll switch this. So we can use the invoke SQL command to connect to our database. And just to test it, we'll run it just like this. And we should get the same query, same results that we got from our SQL query. So then we're going to assign a variable, the results. So we're going to call that StockItems. These results are going to be stored in that StockItems variable, so when we start our Foreach, we want to loop through those items. So we're going to create another parameter called item, singular. So we assign StockItems, item in StockItems, kind of the way you read it. So now inside the Foreach, the item variable has all that information from each one of those records as it walks through each one. So we can display the stock item name, and if we were to just run this, that's all we get is the stock item name, because it's going to each one of those guys, and I'm not doing anything with it, I'm just displaying it. You could, if you wanted to, do the same thing you do with the pipeline. You can add a select object, and you can pick which ones you want to display, like the stock item or the quantity. And it would do the same thing. The difference is it's doing it one at a time. So obviously I could do the same thing with this pipe. I could pipe this using the StockItems variable, because it already has those records anyway, and I would see the same results. So in the case of the Foreach, you're working with each record. So we're going to do something, we're going to filter it. You can do this with the filter statement. I think we have in another video. But just to demonstrate here, we're going to use the item, each item record, and we're going to take a look at the stock item, and we're going to filter it. I want to see the stock items that are slippers. So the only time we're going to end up inside this if is if the stock item name has the word slippers in it. So I'm just going to display each record and then check it to see if it's slippers. So we only have slippers now because that's all we're displaying. Now we could change something to something different. Let's say maybe the large small that we have here for the slippers. So maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe we want to display something that's like the full word. And we'll do it as a separate field as well. So we're going to copy this stock item. Yep, there's not that many, only about 5 of those guys. And then I'm going to add, let's just add parentheses, large, and sorry, you got parentheses, whatever. So I'm just going to concatenate at the end there. So now it has the word large at the end of it. You can do something in here like when you Foreach this, you're dealing with each record, so you could actually remove the L from the name if you wanted to. Or you could go in here and instead, you could use the size field if you wanted to instead. And the add your stock item name, replace the size with the word large instead, so it doesn't say large, or it doesn't have an L, it has the word large. We can do things with each record. We can add it to an array. We're going to do that real quick so we can display it differently. I'm going to create a blank array called result, and then inside our Foreach, every time we look at this record, I'm going to write this result to the array, and we'll do something a little different, and we'll have the item stock name. so we know what it is. And we'll add something to the end of it, just continue with the concatenation theme. Add the color ID. We didn't do anything with that yet. So now in this case, every time it goes through there, it's going to add that record with this concatenated color ID on the end of it in parentheses. And then we're going to see that in the result array, which I'll just send this to a So you can see that some of the parentheses are there because there's no color ID. Some of them do have a color ID. So this is an area where this kind of statement you might want to replace or remove or not display the color ID. So you might have an if statement in there that checks to see if there is a color ID. So each record is checked, there's no color ID, so you don't include parentheses. So then the results looks a lot cleaner. On the administrator's note, you might be looking at this wondering if maybe you can use this, and I'd say yes. If you had a query of a list of your servers, let's say, and you wanted to do something or connect to and query each one of those servers, you could run the same thing. You could have a server query from your database with your list of servers. And in the Foreach, you could basically just select or go into each server. Let's make this all servers. Obviously, this data is not relative, but this is what it would look like. The server is your variable, and then in here, for each one of these guys, you might do something like a test connection, and I believe it's computer name, something like that, let's say. And then you can also do maybe a try catch and save it. You could save the results to an array, for example, and save it somewhere. So I hope this helps you out. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and visit dbtales.com. Thanks.